What's going on, all my toy collectors and dino fans out there? You know who it is. It's your boy Ox. And today we're going to be taking a look at Wave 2 of the Saurozoic Warriors line. These figures right here are made by Boss Fight Studios, and I pre-ordered them last year from BigBadToyStore, and they just shipped out this week. Now, if you guys aren't too familiar with this line, I actually did a review last year on Wave 1, and in that review, I looked over the Saurozoic Warriors comic book and gave you guys a brief history and background look at these characters and the world that they come from, okay? And I'll leave a link for that in the description below. But if you guys also want your own copy, you guys can head over to Boss Fight Studios, and it's a free digital copy of the Saurozoic Warriors comic book. Just add it to your cart, push buy now, no credit card needed, and it'll be a free digital download to your phone or PC, okay? But for now, let's go ahead and crack these figures open and see if they're worth joining the rest of the toys that I have here in the Cave of Wonders. Let's get to it. All right, now let's start off with Seth Rosin and the packaging that this figure comes in. I've already measured it out for you guys. It's 8.5 inches long by 9 inches tall, including that tab up there, by 4 inches in depth. So that's how much shelf space you're going to need if you're going to be displaying this in the box. Now, I'm not familiar with this character or the other two characters in Wave 2 because they weren't in that comic book. So the only thing I know about these characters is what's going to be on the back of the box. Okay, guys? You can see it says Saurozoic Warriors right there, the name of the company that made these figures, which is Boss Fight Studios, ages 8 and up, and the name of this character is called Seth Rosin. I keep wanting to say Seth Rogen because it kind of sounds alike. Has a clear package window showing you the character that's inside. You can see it comes with this giant sledgehammer, a pistol, a sword, and then a shield, okay? Let's take a look at the box. Just like the first wave, has a really cool look at the character right there. This side just says the name of them. Right here, some information in case you guys want to pause that. And then on the back of the box, it gives you a little read up on the character, and then it shows you the other figures that are in this wave, which these two are the ones we're going to be looking at next. And this right here, Triax Skiver, he's just a repaint of a figure from the first wave. He actually came out in the first wave, but I think he was a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. They actually did a repaint of another figure in the first wave, and I think he was an Entertainment Earth exclusive figure as well, okay? Now here's a little read up on him. Basically, Rosin's tribe practices a very straightforward form of combat. Close the distance and smash quick, basically. They use their heads basically to smash into people, and they're very strong. Some of the strongest people in the Sauron, in the Sauron world that they come from, okay? Now, they get a skull from the first victim that they ever kill, basically. They end up taking the skull, and they put spikes on it and stuff like that. And then he's also going to come with a gun, and that gun is called a flintlock. It's like a flintlock pistol. It shoots in the air, and it creates like a projectile that creates like smoke, and that, allows them to travel through the smoke and sneak up on people and then ram into them, okay? So this is a pretty strong species, all right? So let's go ahead and crack this baby out of the box. All right, now here's Seth Rosin out of the box. You guys can see he comes with a shield, comes with a sword, a gun, and then he comes with a sledgehammer, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at his weapons real quick. This right here is his gun. Now, like it said on the back of the box, it said that this basically shoots like little smoke bombs, and that gives him the ability to run up on his enemies and basically like knock them out with his skull, okay? But you guys can see it has a black barrel, purple right here on the bottom where it's supposed to be wood at. Now you guys can see some wrapping right here, a lot of detail in here. Now these are meant to be like comic book cartoon looking toys, so you're not going to see a whole lot of paint detail on these weapons and stuff, but it's pretty cool that they put it in there. So in case you wanted to make these characters look like live action real, basically, you guys can go ahead and paint all this extra detail that they have right here in the sculpt. All right, this right here is his sword. You guys can see it has a black blade right there, some detail right here. Now, when I was grabbing this and I'm moving it around, obviously these toys are for ages 8 and up, but these little spiky things are actually really sharp. You guys can see them leaving like little indents in my fingers and my skin right there. So you guys got to make sure if you guys have little ones around that they don't put this in their mouth, because these things are actually really sharp, all right? Now, I don't think they're going to cut you, but they do feel pretty sharp, okay? But awesome looking weapons. I love these little toys. Taking a look at this one right here, you can see it's like a big old sledgehammer, basically. Black up here at the top. You can see it has some wood graving right here, all in the purple handle right there. So like I said, if you guys wanted to add some, you know, custom paint on here and bring out all these extra little details right here, all these little spikes and stuff, you guys can do that as well. But I like the way these look. They remind me a lot of the old Playmates Ninja Turtles and Toxic Crusaders. All right. Now the shield is actually really awesome. It's a really thick shield. I love how they didn't just like have it going in like kind of hollow on the inside. They put like some kind of padding right there or whatever. Now this little handle is where you actually Seth is going to end up holding the shield right here. But as you guys can see, it has two little holes right there. That's one for the knife and one for his giant sledgehammer to end up hooking into. And you guys can either hook that in his hand when he's holding this shield, or you guys can hook it in his back, and I'll show you that later. All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the character up close. I've already measured him out for you guys. He measured out to 6 inches tall. Let's take a look at him up close. Now, like I said earlier when I was reading the back of the box, that his first kill that they ever make, they basically give you the helmet, like the skull of the person that he ended up defeating, and they put spikes and stuff like that on it. So that's a pretty cool little storyline for this character. You guys can see he has a lot of body damage in his armor right here, so you can see that he's been through it or whatever, been through lots of different wars. Pretty cool different color gauntlets right there hooked onto his forearms and everything. You can see he has like a lime yellowish green skin right here, and then he has a little holster hooked onto his utility belt, and that right there is where that gas gun ends up hooking into. Okay, he has a little pouch right here, little bone right here on his kneecap or whatever. Now let's quickly go over his articulation real fast. Even on his back right here, he also does have a little spot, and I'll show you guys where he can hold his weapons and what weapons he can hold using that little spot right there. Okay, let's go ahead and go over his articulation. His head does go up only about that far, but he does look down pretty well. It does rotate all the way around if you guys needed to. His mouth does open, which I really like that about these figures. All of their mouths basically end up open, at least on the first wave, and I'll look over obviously the wave 2 while we're reviewing them. Okay, arms do come up. These little things right here, they don't end up hindering articulation. They're just hooked on right here. You can't unhook these, but they're not going to stop his arms from going up if you guys need them to. They do rotate at the elbow. They do bend. They do rotate at the elbow as well. His wrists do move. These little gauntlets right here, they do articulate if you guys need them to. They do kind of spin around. And then let me push his arm back down. Oh, there it is right there. Yep. And then his waist does rotate around if you guys need it to. He can crunch forward if you guys need. He does go back pretty far. I don't see any kind of ab crunch because all this padding right here ends up blocking me from seeing anything. But you guys can see right here that it does look like you guys can unhook it. I'm not going to try it. Well, I just basically did with my fingernail. But yeah, you guys don't see any kind of ab crunch right there. And then you guys can just hook his armor back on by just pushing it right onto that little knob right there. Okay. Now, taking a look at his legs do come up. They do kick up pretty far. They do bend right here at the knee. They do rotate. Now, I did have a little bit of trouble, probably because he's a brand new figure straight off the line. So I just had to heat him up just a little bit. I didn't heat him up. I just kind of slowly bent them, but I don't want you guys to break your figure. So you might have to heat the knees up. At least I did for me, all right? They do rotate at the knee. His feet do come up. They do go down. They do rock side to side, okay? And these little gauntlets right here around his shins, they do rotate if you guys need them to, okay? They're just loose, all right? But yeah, man, awesome looking figure. I love the extra paint work right underneath his eyes. I love the way his eyes look. I can't remember exactly the kind of dinosaur that he is. I know that I've seen them dinosaurs that have like the hard skulls and they basically ram into other dinosaurs. And that's basically what he ends up doing, what his tribe does, okay? Now let's go ahead and take a look at his weapons. This right here, little holster, you can see that it's not broken. It's meant to open up like that, and that way it can basically fit around here and lock in his gun just like that, okay? Now on his back, you guys can use this little piece right here, and you guys can just fit his sledgehammer in there just like that if you guys want. Or you guys can also fit his little shield right in there. They just clips on right there where he ends up holding that, and then you guys can fit his shield right onto his back in case you guys don't want him holding that, okay? Now I also want to show you guys right here, it has two little holes. You guys can actually put this shield right in here just like this. Like that, and then you guys can also take his sword. Now I'm not sure if I'm doing this right because it doesn't let you guys know, but you guys can just slide his sword right in there just like that, so that way he don't have to hold anything, and then you guys can slide this right onto his back like that. Now it might make it a little top heavy, it might not hold as well, but I wanted to show you guys that I'm pretty sure this right here is where it holds both of these little weapons, okay? Now you guys can also hold these in his hands, and I'll go ahead and put this in his hand real quick for you guys. Now here he is with his hammer in his hand and his shield, and I have his sword hooked into that little hole right there in his shield. Now his shield is really heavy, so because it's so heavy, it kind of pulls his arm down at the elbow, okay? So that could kind of be an issue if you guys want to display him in certain poses. The shield is actually pretty heavy, so it kind of holds it down. Even if you guys take the sword off, the shield is just heavy by itself. So it's up to you guys where you guys want to put the shield at. Like I said, he'll hold it, but he might not hold it completely up the way you guys want it to, okay? But I just wanted to point that out for you guys. But yeah, awesome looking figure, man. I really love the way this thing looks. I love the fact that I can add this to my other Saurozoic Warrior figures, but I did want to let you guys know about that shield, all right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next figure. All right, now moving on to the next character in Wave 2, we have Pava Perga. I think I'm saying her name right. I haven't heard anybody else pronounce it. I think it's pronounced Pava Perga. Now, same dimensions of this box as the other ones, 8.5 inches long by 9 inches tall by 4 inches in depth. Same information, Saurozoic Warriors, Boss Fight Studios, ages 8 and up. You have a clear package window showing you the character that's inside and her weapons and accessories. You can see she comes with 2 swords and a pistol. And this is the first flying dinosaur from the Saurozoic Warriors line that we've looked at, first pterodactyl-like figure. Taking a look at the side of the box, you can see her right there. On the back, any information you guys need, you guys can go ahead and pause it, okay? The side just says her name, Pava Perga. And on the back, it just gives you a little read-up on this character. Like I said, none of these figures in Wave 2 are in the comic book, so only thing I know is what's on the back of this box. It says she's skyrockets basically from treetops. There are a few who equal Pava when it comes to fast attack. She's basically an assassin scouting and covert surveillance. She uses thermal currents to fly through the air, and she has a sixth sense where she's able to sense other dinosaurs in Saurons basically by like their movement. So the moment they move, she can has like a radar where she can pick up their movement, okay? And catches them off guard because she flies from the flies from the sky, and she can even move in darkness, all right? Pava uses a silent laser pistol for long-range attacks, and she uses her swords for up-close combat, all right? Let's go ahead and crack her out of the box. All right, and here's Pava and all of her accessories out of the box. You guys can see comes with the figure. She comes with 2 swords, 2 little sword cases right here that they end up sliding into, and then she comes with a little pistol right there, okay? Let's go ahead and start off with her weapons, all right? Here's her little revolver right here, or a little laser. Oh, it's a little laser gun. I'm sorry, not a revolver. It's her laser gun. This is right here is what they said she can shoot people and snipe people from like up high in the sky or whatever. And here's that. A lot of detail in the sculpting. It's just one color though. It's just orange. All right, guys. Let's move on to her swords. Now she has 2 swords, and the only difference is obviously this one has a longer peg right here, and that one, this is the first one that you peg into her back, and you can see a little hole right there, and that's where this one with the shorter peg right here ends up clicking on there just like that, okay? And that's how you end up hooking these swords onto her back, basically, all right? And then you guys can pull them out. The exact same sword. Let's go ahead and take a look at them real quick. They're all one color, but lots of engraved detail in the plastic, okay? So like I said, if you guys didn't want these to look all colorful and cartoonish, you guys can paint all these different extra details on here and make it look really good, really cool, paint the handle a different color and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty awesome little swords, and they just slide in there just like that. And like I said, you guys don't have to have these connected if you guys don't want, but it just helps you guys hook these onto her back, okay, when you guys end up pegging that through, all right? Let's go ahead and take a look at the figure up close, and I'll attach this on towards the end, all right? Now, as you guys can see, she's not even standing on her feet. She's actually standing on these little wings right here, and the little wings just help her stand by herself. Now, I'm sure she can stand on her feet, but, for some reason, they just have it to where, she stands in one spot just with her wings basically holding her up. Now, I would have liked her wings to basically be on her arms so I could maybe hang her from a wire and maybe have her soaring above all the other figures, because obviously she's a flying, bird-like creature. So it would have been nice if her wings were on her arms or they hooked to her back. But the way they did it maybe just kind of got the wings out of her way, because, even if the weapons are top heavy, they kind of make the arms kind of, fall down. This is kind of, I wouldn't say flimsy plastic, but a little more on the squishier side. It's not really hard hard or anything like that, like really hard plastic, but you know, it has kind of a squishier texture to it. Not real squishy like a rubber ducky or nothing, but you can tell it's a softer plastic. And plus they have littler skinny arms, so when you're holding up these really heavy weapons and stuff, it kind of makes the arms fall down. But I want to make you guys aware of that before you guys go ahead and buy these figures, okay? But yeah, the figure ended up measuring out to 6 inches long, and like I said, it's like a bird. So lots of really cool detail in the teeth and everything like that. The mouth does open like all the other figures. You can see all the little teeth right there. You can see all the little feathers engraved in the plastic right here. Even this little, you know, strap, like chest harness and everything, like where the shoulder piece is and everything, this is all like loose. I'm sure you guys, if you guys wanted to, you guys can just peel this off if you guys want. But there's a little holster right there that ends up holding that pistol. And let's go ahead and throw that pistol in here real quick. Laser pistol. But yeah, it ends up just fitting in there just like that. That's one of the things I really like about these figures, is not only all the really cool, you know, colors that pop on them, the fact that they just have little holsters and stuff that end up holding all their guns, and they come with a lot of weapons. Like I said, just like my old Playmates Ninja Turtles, man, they have lots of weapons and lots of places to store all their weapons and stuff like that. All right. Now, let's go ahead and go over articulation. You can see she does have a really tall neck, so that neck does move. If you guys hold right here, you guys can spin that around. You can also spin her head around if you want. She doesn't look up too far. She doesn't look down too far. I think this right here ends up hindering that articulation, and then her beak ends up hindering it right here at the bottom. So she doesn't look down or up very, you know, very big, but you guys can also push this, you know, back if you guys want to help her look up. All right. Does rotate around if you guys need it to. Arms do come up. They do rotate around. They do rotate as well as bend right here at the elbow. They do rotate at the wrists as well. Okay. You guys can rotate her body like that. You can push her forward. You can move her back. You can lift her legs up like that. They do bend at the knees. They do swivel at the knees. Feet do rotate back and forth. They do go up. They do go down. But like I said, she doesn't even stand on her feet. She ends up, you know, you end up just using the wings. The wings basically are like a tripod keeping her up. So you don't even really have to stand her, which I think that's pretty cool. Kind of looks like she's flying in a way. But like I said, I would have liked those wings to be up here on her back or on her arms. But I can probably see why, because if they're just too top heavy, she'll just might fall over or something. Okay. Let's go ahead and hook these swords right here on her back. You can see a little peg hole right there. Oh, I dropped one of them. Yep. All right. Push that one in, and then just hook this one right on here. Yep. And there you guys go. Oh, fell off. There you go. And here's Pava with her swords in her hands. Like I said, you guys can just fit one in each hand or whatever, and that thing, that little sword pack right there ends up still hooking to her back, okay? Now, like I said, this little piece right here, it keeps popping off. It mostly popped off when I had the sword inside of this one. I think that little peg just didn't have enough room to go all the way in, so I'm probably just going to end up super gluing this one to this one right there, okay? I might even super glue the whole thing to her back if I want to. But like I said, you guys can put her in some really cool poses because she stands up all by herself with the back, with these wings right here on the bottom. So you guys can put her in whatever kind of karate poses you guys want, all right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next figure. Okay, now last figure in the wave, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Staz Kaden. I think that's how you say his name. Like I said, I haven't heard anybody else pronounce these toys' names, okay? Same dimensions on the box, Saurozoic Warriors, made by Boss Fight Studios for ages 8 and up. Got a clear package window showing you the character that's inside and all the weapons and accessories that he comes with. Now this character right here actually looks like an Ankylosaurus, and you can see him right there on the side of the packaging. Information on the bottom in case you guys need it. Go ahead and pause it. You can just see his name on this side of the box. Like I said, I think it's pronounced Staz Kaden. And then the back, it just gives you a little read up on this character. He's very slow moving, but invulnerable. Very, great strength. He basically served his master for many, many years, protecting him and his family until his master died, and a new tribe leader basically took over and didn't like him very much, so he exiled him. Now considered outcast, basically like a Ronin, Staz does what he has to do in order to survive. He has a strict moral code, often taking less of a fee if he feels the cause is, just worth it, basically. He's a very capable fighter, can take on, more than 2 foes at a time. Like I said, he's very slow, but, he's invulnerable. He really can't get through probably his hard shell on his back. And, he's very loyal. Like I said, he doesn't, whatever jobs he takes, he doesn't care about the cost or whatever. If he feels like it's a good cause, he'll go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and crack this baby out of the box. All right, now here's Staz Kaden out of the box. Like I said, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I haven't heard anybody else do it, so I'm not sure if that's the right way to pronounce his name, all right? And you guys can see this is a shorter figure, but he's a lot more stockier, a lot wider, and that's probably why he's going to be one of my favorite ones in this wave, all right? Now let's take a look at his weapons real fast. You guys can see he comes with this little hammer, comes with a gun, comes with a knife, and then he comes with a tail that ends up hooking onto his back, all right? Let's take a look at this little spike hammer real quick. Awesome detail in here. You guys can see all the wood grain working in there. Now, it's two different colors rather than just painted one color like some of the other like the swords that just came on Pava. But if you guys remember, you know, this one right here had two different colors on it as well, okay? So I like the fact that they ended up using two different colors on these weapons. Now, these spikes are actually pretty sharp, so keep that in mind if you're going to be, you know, letting a 2 or 3 year old play with this. This is for ages 8 and up, because you don't want your, you know, kid putting this in their mouth, because these little spikes are kind of sharp, all right? But awesome detail, you know, awesome detail in the plastic. I love the way that looks, all right? Let's go ahead and take a look at his gun real quick. Like I said, you guys can see all the little bolts right here in the handle and everything like that. Not really sure what this kind of gun this is, some kind of flamethrower or something like that. It didn't really describe it on the back of the box. So, but yeah, pretty cool looking gun. Kind of looks like a little silencer on the end of it. Then he comes with a little knife, and then you just pull it out like that. And there it is. You know, pretty cool little knife. And it actually ends up hooking into his little utility belt right here. And I'll show you that later, all right? Now, I was kind of wondering when I pulled him out of the package why his pants kept dropping down right there where that little rope is. It kind of kept dropping down, and that's because you have to hook his tail underneath it to kind of keep it up, all right? So that's why it's kind of loose, and we'll end up hooking this on at the end, all right? Now, I've already measured this figure out for you. Rather than being 6 inches like the other two we looked at, he ended up measuring out to 5 inches, but you can see he's a lot wider, so he's meant to be short and stocky, all right? And taking a look at him up close, you can see his body armor has lots of damage on it. Remember on the back of the box, it said that he was a bodyguard, basically, you know, serving his master for many years until he passed away, and then a new guy took over, and he didn't want him, you know, in his army, basically. So now he's just a rogue agent, just going around doing whatever he wants to do, taking on odd-end jobs, all right? But you can see a lot of body damage in here. You can see how they ended up painting the chrome right here on the buckles and everything that end up holding his body armor together. I love that they did that. You can see all the little details right here in his shoulder pads, even in his little gauntlets right here, all right? And the fact that they chose like a bright red for his armor, and then like a more burgundy kind of almost purplish right here for his skin, and then like a lighter skin tone right up here on the back of his armor on the back right here. I thought that was a pretty cool idea, man. I love the way he looks. He's all angry and everything. He has one eye patch on. Pretty cool, man. Great work on these, man. Like I said, they remind me a lot of Ninja Turtles and stuff, so I'm really happy to have these in my collection. Let's go ahead and go over his articulation real quick. His head does rotate by itself right here. His mouth does open if you guys need it to. It does look up about that far, looks down about that far, but then his neck also moves as well. So you guys can rotate his neck side to side or push it down. It doesn't really go up any further than that right there, but you guys can push his head up to about there, okay? So keep that in mind. You guys can move his neck there and then his head a different way if you guys want to, all right? His arms do come up. These little shoulder pads don't hinder anything. They're just hooked on that by that little piece of plastic right there. So his arms do come up. They do rotate. Does have single jointed elbows, but they do rotate at the elbow, so he doesn't have any kind of bicep swivel, I notice, on any of these figures. The wrists do rotate. They do go in. They do go out. These little things right here are loose, these little gauntlets, so they can move around if you guys need them to. His waist does articulate back and forth. He does crunch forward about that far. He does lean back about that far, but the more you pull him back, you guys will be able to see that little joint right there that ends up hooking the two together. This is only loose because of his tail, which I'll end up hooking on for you guys in 1 second, all right? Legs do kick up only about that far. They're kind of hindered by this stuff right here. Only kick out about that. Like I said, he is pretty short. He does have single jointed knees, but they do rotate around if you guys need them to. This piece right here is loose right here around his shins. Feet do come up. They do go down. They do rock side to side if you guys need them to, all right? Let's go ahead and hook his tail on real quick. Now, I think you're supposed to push this up first and then hook his tail on. That way it doesn't fall, okay? All right, now I did have to use a little bit of hot breath to basically get his tail on. I just breathed on it and then, you know, twisted it around. Only problem was at first it wasn't going on very well, and these little spikes were digging into my hands. But yeah, it ends up going on pretty easy. You guys can see it actually helps him stand up as well. He doesn't even need it because I have him standing up on here and he don't tip over, and you guys can see his tail isn't touching anything. But just because he's so big, his feet are wide, and that tail will actually help him stand up pretty well, okay? Now let's go ahead and show him with his little sword right here. Like I said, this does hook into his little pouch if you guys want it to. just like that. And then let's go ahead and show him with his guns in his hand. Right? Oh yeah, he's definitely my favorite out of all these figures, man. I just love the way he looks. The eye patch on his eye, the way he's able to hold his guns. Like I said, he's just more of a bigger, brooding figure, you know. And like I said, on the back of the box, it said that he's meant to be, you know, he's slow, but you know, he gets the job done. You know, he could easily take on 2 people at one time because he has all this armor plating on his back and everything like that. And then, you know, all these really cool weapons and stuff. But yeah, an awesome looking figure, man. I love this one the best. So let's go ahead and show them all together, and I'll show you guys all the figures from Wave 1. That way, in case you guys didn't go ahead and buy those, you guys can see what they all look like together, okay? All right, now here's all the figures we just looked at in Wave 2, and in the back, you guys can see Wave 1 back there. I just wanted to show you guys all these figures together. They're all really bright colored, crazy weapons. They look awesome. I just want you guys to see what they all look like together. So far, there's only 7 different characters. I know that there's 2 extra figures. There's one of him and one of him, like repaints black and white. They kind of look like skeletons. I didn't buy those figures because I like the way these bright colors looked on my shelf, so that's why I only got these ones. But there are 2 more figures out there, and that's just them 2 right there, just repaints, okay? Now, what I love the most about these figures is, like I said earlier, they remind me a lot of the old Playmates Ninja Turtle figures with, you know, the crazy costumes, the bright colors, the wacky guns and everything like that. That's actually what they remind me a lot of, and that's why I'm basically going to be supporting this line. I hope Boss Fight ends up coming out with some more of these characters because, you know, these display really well. Now, there's one thing I want to point out, the cons about these, is that sometimes the weapons are just too heavy. They're not heavy to us at all, but they're heavy for the plastic as far as like hooking them on to the little holsters that end up holding them. Like that shield, it's held on, but I'm sure if I start shaking that figure just a little bit, it'll end up falling. Sometimes their weapons are a little bit too heavy for their hands and will end up coming out. Now, I had a little bit of trouble getting his hands to hold that, and it ended up working out just fine now. But I noticed with the first wave, that's the characters in the back right there, like his axe was a little bit too heavy for him to hold. You can't hook that onto the hinge in the back where it's supposed to hook onto because it ends up falling out. Now, that's not an issue for me because I'm going to be displaying them with their weapons in their hands. But if you're, you know, playing with these figures or giving them to a kid, they're going to end up falling out of those little attachments. Another issue that I seen with the first wave that I didn't see with this wave right here with the second wave is that when I was hooking on some of the weapons and pushing them into some of the little holsters and stuff, the paint started chipping on some of them. Very little tiny flakes, nothing big, something you probably wouldn't even notice, but I noticed it when I was doing the review and pulling them in and out of the little holsters and stuff, that some of the paint ended up chipping. Nothing horrible. Like I said, you can't see it, and they end up holding their weapons. Those Wave 1 have been holding their weapons for the last year and haven't had any issue with any of them falling out or anything like that, okay? They stand up really well. There's no issue with these figures falling over or anything like that. They cost you around about $29.99. You can't get these off Amazon. You can only get these from Boss Fight Studios, Big Bad Toy Store, and maybe Entertainment Earth, I think, okay? They might still be up for you guys to order them, but I think on Boss Fight Studios, at least Wave 2 is out of stock right now. But I'll leave the link in the description below, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed the look at these Saurozoic Warrior figures. They're awesome figures. I hope they continue on with this line because I love the way these figures look. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Until next time, stay cool.